this series, I am so blown away. It is the best sketch show that I've seen in so long.
Oh my God. Thank you.
I blown away by it. I'd seen a little bit of season one, but then I watched a lot of season two now, and it just grows so wonderfully. How did this series start for you?
Oh God, I started doing live sketch at Second City and a bunch of places. I Improv Olympic, which is no longer around, with all these Black women two decades ago. And so I was doing all these live shows years and years and years with all these Black women. And when it came time to create my next show after my late night show got canceled in 2018, I was like, I really want to do this Black lady sketch show. I want to do the things I've been doing in theater all these years on TV and make it a narrative cinematic show and, just make it a really cool look into the work I've been doing live for years. So that kind of was the impetus. Sketch has always been my home. This is my 7th sketch show, but the first one I created. So I've always been on ones that were led by men. And so, I'm really excited to be able to, be talking about our 2nd season. It felt like it would never get here. I've been making it since 2 weeks after season 1. But a whole little COVID thing happened and set us back, but we're here. I'm so happy.
I know you said you weren't going to rewrite season 2 because obviously, like you said in one interview, you said about calling it evergreen, and it is so evergreen, and yet it feels so in the moment.
Yeah.
So did you rewrite any of it, or did you just kind of leave it because it was perfect the way it was?
Well, we had to rewrite some because of casting changes, but it really wasn't about COVID. We dropped some sketches because they were not going to work with the COVID protocols, right? Sketches with 150 extras and sketches with kids. You couldn't do any of that during COVID. We shot during the height of COVID. So, I only though added 2 new sketches that weren't written before the pandemic. And then the things we had to rewrite were really about cast. And then we updated some jokes across the board. But for the most part, 80% of the material's the same as it was when we started writing it at the end of 2019. But I would argue that you can go and watch season 1 right now and it wouldn't feel dated either. I mean, we have a very specific secret formula for how we do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I say the show is not topical, but it's current, right? And so many of these things feel so current, but they're really kind of age old things, right? We just tell them in a very current and modern way. Last season we had a Romeo and Juliet sketch, but it had to do with stan culture on the internet. So we take traditional formats and we merge them with things that feel very cutting edge and modern. But people have to remember, like, in a typical year, it's 9 months before the show comes on the air. So we can't write the way SNL does, right? And that's why we really don't do any political humor. Because God, there was a whole different president when we started writing season 2, so there was no way that we could have done that, but it's also just not where I find joy. I was in politics for many, many years in late night. My mom's an active politician, but for me, I wanted this, especially this season, to center joy so that when people watch it, we were hoping we would be out of the pandemic by the time it came on the air, but we're still actively in it. So it's even more timely. I think people need this so much. They need that laughter and they need that joy. So I'm just so thrilled that, it's so clear what this show is. It's always been very clear to me, but season 2 brought even more clarity, and it showed us what audiences responded to and the characters they loved and the sketches that went viral. So that was really easy for us to dive in and explore in the waters that we were already in, but then just elevate them even more for season 2 and really focus on that black lady joy.
There is so much to love. I just every episode just swept me along, and it's nice seeing the fact you're revisiting obviously sketches from the first season. Your new opening credits. I don't know if it's a spoiler to reveal.
It is a spoiler we cannot talk about.
I won't, but it was so wonderful. The moment
People
I saw
don't
it,
even know that we have new ones, so I won't even acknowledge that there are new ones. It is very much a spoiler. I'm glad you enjoyed.
So, I love the fact that the show comes back to, there's a lot of sci-fi in my mind, at least,
Always.
that, surfacing and, like the purgatory things, and obviously the post-apocalyptic things.
I don't know what you're talking about. I cannot confirm or deny any of this. You are talking about a lot of spoilers. Because, well, I can say in season 1, right? It was post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
The doorbell, but no one has any idea about where we'll end up in season 2. But yes, I think that for sure, right? There is a sci-fi element, there's a genre element, there's horror, there's sci-fi, but that's stuff that I'm very much into. So, and so are our writers. But I think it's something that people don't expect from Black women, right? So I think that's always fun for us to explore. It's always an unexpected place for us to find comedy, for sure.
It's such epic comedy. I mean, even just looking back to the first season, I definitely don't want to spoil the second one, but the level of wit, intelligence, and then throwbacks like the 227 stuff and everything else. Like it's amazing. Did you have a favorite episode in the new season? Not even just calling it out, but even just a reference to, your favorite? I know that's like singling out your favorite child, but
I know, right? Which if I had children, I would be fine doing that. You know what? Every episode has a different thing that is my favorite, right? So I think that people will be very excited to see what Gabrielle Union does with Dr. Hadassah this season. I think that's a really fun one. In the trailer, there's a sketch where women are dressed in biblical clothes and talking about loaves and fishes. And I won't say what that sketch is about, but it is truly one of my favorite sketches. I think, in the opening episode, I mean, I can't even reference that actually.
I know it's so hard, right?
It's very hard. It's very hard. I can't really talk about opening credits or interstitials, and I can't really acknowledge if they're different or the same or whatever. But I think from the first few moments of season 2, people will understand how this world has changed and how the world is elevated, given where our characters are now. Like in my mind, ostensibly, the characters have lived through the last 2 years as well, in an alternate sort of dimension, but they do have awareness. However, they're not currently living in a pandemic world. And when the COVID is referenced twice in the first episode and then never again, and it's only in passing, and it's only to question its existence, which has more to do with the universe that they're living in, and the fact that they've already experienced an apocalypse. So, it's really interesting. For me, I'm really interested to see how people engage in the interstitial storyline and what happens, especially without Quinta, right? Quinta's schedule didn't work once we got pushed because she had a whole nother show to shoot, and we love her and she's always welcome here and she's the best. But the ways we had to adjust for that, I'm interested to see. Some of it was already in the works, but some of it elevated even more once she was unavailable. But for us, I think the whole goal of this second season is to elevate it in a way that's going to make people think, answer a lot of questions, but present a few more. And I don't know if you got to episode 6 yet, but you're probably going to be angry at the end of it. Not angry, but everything on our show, nothing really wraps up with a button, with like a bow on it. But we will be answering all of the season 1 questions and then presenting some more. So I think that's the fun and that's the game of it. And that's that sci-fi element too, right? Good sci-fi does not ever fully answer a question. It really presents more as existential questions about the world we live in and why the creatures and the demons and the dimensions exist, right? Because the world is so much bigger than we know. So I think those are just really fun things to explore on any show, right? Let alone a Black Lady sketch show and our unique point of view to be able to do that.
Thank you so much. The universe is wonderful. I love everything about it. I hope to get to talk to you again about the whole thing once again.
Thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It's a treat for me because this week of talking to journalists is my first reaction from other people because no one's seen it but me. Right. So I'm really excited to hear people saying how much they like it and that it's elevated from season 1 because we worked so hard.
It is amazing. You've done an incredible job. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you so much, Andrew.